Keith Urban's story, finding himself again. Keith Urban is 57 years old. For many years he was a famous singer. People loved watching him perform. But Keith had a secret. Inside, he felt lost and tired. One night, Keith was alone in his music studio in Nashville. He tried to play his guitar, but something felt wrong. The music didn't make him happy anymore. He felt empty inside. Keith had fought hard problems before. He had been addicted to drugs. He almost lost everything. But he got better and married Nicole Kidman. Everyone thought he was strong and happy, but Keith knew the truth. He was still struggling. At 57, Keith was tired of pretending. He was tired of being perfect for everyone. The cheering crowds couldn't hide his sadness anymore. Hard times come back. Keith started having trouble sleeping. His heart would beat fast at night. He felt scared, but he didn't know why. Old fears came back. He worried he might make mistakes again. Being married to Nicole Kidman was hard sometimes. Everyone watched them. Keith wanted to be strong for Nicole, but inside he felt weak. He didn't want to disappoint her. One day in the studio, Keith couldn't play music at all. He put down his guitar and sat there for a long time. He finally understood. He had been running away from his feelings for too many years. Telling the truth. That night Keith went home. Nicole saw his sad face. She didn't ask questions, she just hugged him. Keith whispered, "Long day." But they both knew something big was happening. Over the next weeks, Keith started to change. He canceled some shows. He sat outside under a tree a lot. He found his old journals from when he was sick with addiction. Reading them made him remember painful times. Keith realized something important. He never said goodbye to the old version of himself. He fought that person, but never let him go. Finding peace. Keith went back to the studio. This time, he didn't try to make music. He just sat and listened to the quiet. The silence didn't scare him anymore. The next morning, Keith talked to Nicole on their balcony. She noticed he looked different. "You're different," she said. Keith nodded. "I think I'm trying to find my way back." Nicole held his hand. She understood. Keith started doing new things. He called old friends. He said sorry for things from the past. He talked to his brother about when they were kids. It was hard, but it felt good. People on the internet started talking about Keith. They said he looked tired. Some said mean things. But Keith didn't care anymore. He didn't need to explain himself to strangers. Music comes back. One morning, Keith picked up his old guitar. When he played, it felt different. It felt real and honest. He started writing a new song. It wasn't about being famous. It was about being himself. Nicole watched him from the doorway. She smiled. She hadn't seen him this happy with music in a long time. Keith visited an old friend from rehab. They talked and laughed. His friend asked him, "When was the last time you lived for yourself instead of for other people?" Keith couldn't answer. That question made him think hard. The big problem. Then something bad happened. Someone posted a lie about Keith on the internet. The lie said Keith was using drugs again. It wasn't true, but many people believed it. Keith felt scared. All the old bad feelings came back. His hands shook. His heart beat fast. People wanted Keith to go on TV and explain everything. His manager said he should do it, but Keith didn't want to. He was tired of explaining himself. Nicole asked him, "What do you want, Keith? Not what other people need, what do you want?" Keith didn't know the answer. He had spent his whole life doing what others wanted. Standing strong. That night, Keith couldn't sleep. He sat in the dark, thinking about his life. He thought about being a kid in New Zealand who loved music. He thought about coming to Nashville with big dreams. He thought about all his mistakes and wins. Keith realized something sad. He had always been what other people wanted him to be. He was never just himself. In the morning, Keith made a big choice. He told his team, "I'm not doing the TV interview." Nicole felt relieved. "Good," she said. "You don't have to explain yourself to anyone." But not doing the interview made things worse. More lies spread online. Someone from Keith's past sold a fake story to the newspapers. Keith felt scared again. His therapist called him and said, "Don't be alone. You're stronger than these lies." Nicole helps him. One evening, Keith stood in the backyard, shaking and scared. Nicole came outside and held his hand. "Talk to me," she said. "I thought I was getting better," Keith said, "but now everything is falling apart again." Nicole hugged him tight. "You're not falling apart, you're being tested. Those are different things." "What if I fail?" Keith asked. "You won't," Nicole said, "because you're not fighting Al. One anymore." Her words made Keith feel better. He didn't have to be perfect. He didn't have to do everything alone. The real truth. One morning, Keith looked in the mirror. He saw the lines on his face and the gray in his hair, but that's not what bothered him. He realized he didn't really know who he was, not the famous singer, the real Keith inside. Keith drove out to a quiet place. He sat by an old fence and thought hard. He asked himself, "Who am I when I'm not performing?" The answer was scary. Keith had spent his whole life fighting and surviving. He didn't know how to just be. Tears came to his eyes. He sat in the grass and cried, but crying helped. He whispered to himself, "I don't have to fight anymore." Starting over. When Keith got home, he told Nicole, "I think I'm finally ready to meet myself." Nicole smiled and touched his face. "I've been waiting for you to say that." Keith started living differently. He spent time with his daughters. He cooked dinner. He took walks. He didn't rush everywhere. One night, Keith played Nicole a new song. It was gentle and honest. It was about finding himself again. Nicole cried when she heard it. "It's you," she said. "This is the most you I've ever heard." Singing again. A charity group asked Keith to sing at a small show for people recovering from addiction. Only 50 people would be there. No cameras, no big lights. Keith was nervous, but he said yes. The night of the show, Keith walked on the small stage. He sat down with his guitar and sang. His voice cracked a little, but that was okay. Every word came from his heart. After the show, a young man came up to him crying. "I've been sober for 3 months," he said. "I don't know how to keep going." Keith put his hand on the young man's shoulder. "You don't have to know everything. Just don't give up on yourself. I'm 57 and I'm still learning how." Happy ending. Keith went back to making music, but this time it was different. He wasn't trying to be famous. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He was just making honest music. He made a new album about his journey. The songs weren't fancy, but they were true. Keith finally understood something important. He didn't need to be perfect. He didn't need everyone to like him. He just needed to be himself. At 57 years old, Keith Urban stopped surviving and started really living.